hardwood, the track, the ice, the gridiron, doesn't matter. We're going to take you out to all of them in tonight's show. Welcome into Connecticut Game Week, everyone. I'm Alexa Harley alongside Sean Humphrey, and we have a jam-packed show ready for you. We're going to hear from UConn football head coach Jason Candle for the first time since his introductory press conference back in December. Plus, we'll head out to the track and check in on one athlete hoping to replicate success that she's seen in recent years. Later, Sean Humphrey will bring you the story of one UConn sportscaster who wears many hats. But first, we're going to tip off this show with what could be the Big East game of the season. 22 St. John's versus number 3 UConn. Sean Humphrey has more on this huge conference showdown. Sean.
Hey, Alexa, thank you. And I guess that would mean it's time for a little recon. We'll start with the game you're waiting to see right here on Fox. As Alexa said, number 3 UConn and number 22 St. John's. And to break things down, let's welcome in the Hartford Courant's Joe Arruda. Joe, the coaching matchup here is fascinating. Rick Pitino, the head coach over at St. John's, he recently won his 900th game as a head coach, and Dan Hurley, one of the top coaches in the sport. I don't think that's news to anybody. What do you make of these two going head to head?
Yeah, I mean, this has been one that, has really been, one of the must-watch matchups. That's the beauty of this game, is you get the game on the court and then you get the game on the sideline. And Hurley and Pitino have been two of the most entertaining coaches, especially in, the last couple of years when they go up against each other. They met in the 23 NCAA tournament when Hurley got his first, got past the first round for the first time when he was at UConn. Pitino was still at Iona. And then Pitino's first year at St. John's, UConn beats him 3 times, 3 close games, and, sets the league record with 18 wins. And then last year, it's completely flipped. UConn doesn't have the backcourt to match up. Pitino wins both, ties the league record in wins the tournament and the regular season title. This matchup with these personalities, it's going to be really interesting to see how they work the refs in this one, because I think it's going to go a long way to how the game ends up.
And Joe, this St. John's team has a lot of experience, especially in the front court. So how do you think that helps them pick up a win against UConn?
Yeah, I think, St. John's has a lot of guys that have been places and have done some things. They have, a bunch of top 25 high school recruits that started their career somewhere else. Now they're all put together here on this, what's supposed to be kind of a super team going into this year. They spent a ton of money in the transfer portal, and they got a lot of talented guys. So I think Zuby Ejiofor, he was Big East preseason player of the year. He's one of the best players in the league, without a doubt. One of the best centers in the country, if not the best. I think it starts with him. But then, you got a guy like Dylan Mitchell, who was a top 5 recruit out of high school. He's their 5th leading scorer. He's averaging 7 rebounds a game, and he's, tough inside. So, there's some matchups. They have a ton of talented guys. UConn has experience too, and UConn has played a lot of big games this year. They've seemed to kind of play to the competition. So we'll see how it goes. I think, both teams are definitely capable of, coming into the year, they're both top 6 teams. And I think St. John's is getting to that level. And I think UConn is also, starting to trend that way as well.
And Joe, last one for you. Is there something we should be watching in this matchup that is maybe flying under the radar?
I think, so the Silas Demery Jr. storyline is an interesting one, because, Rick Pitino's building this roster. He's got all these talented pieces coming in. And he wanted a point guard. They tried to get a point guard, and they tried to get Silas Demery Jr. And Silas Demery Jr. visited St. John's, and then he went to UConn right afterward and committed to UConn when he was there. So it was like one weekend where he's, touring the Big East top teams, and then he chooses UConn over St. John's. And St. John's ends up struggling, to find that guy early on in the year. And I think Demery's talent, he's a top 10 player nationally in some of these rankings. And he's been huge for UConn. Speaking of shooting, he's over 47% on the season. He's finding his spots, and he looks really comfortable in the offense. So I think that's just an interesting storyline, the fact that he almost went there and they really wanted him. It's not like, Rick wasn't looking for a point guard. He wanted Demery, and UConn got him.
Hey, Joe, well, thank you. Should be a good one.
Well, it's been nearly 2 months since Jason Candle spoke to the media at his introductory press conference that was back in December after being named the new head football coach at UConn. Since then, we haven't really seen a whole heck of a lot of Candle. These first 60-ish days were a bit of a whirlwind because there's so many moving parts for him to tackle. In this short time, Candle has signed 71 players and 32 assistant coaches and staffers. He's essentially had to rebuild a roster from the ground up, scavenging through the transfer portal and recruiting kids at the high school level too. There's obviously still months to go before Husky fans see how Candle's team plays on the field, but to check off so many boxes in such a short time is nothing short of impressive, and it begs the question, how did Candle do it?
Well, roster construction, I think, is, it's more of an art than it is a science, right? I mean, what works for one particular place doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for another one. I think there's some clear examples in college football of how other people have done it in the last 2 years, but there's also another element to this. This is uncharted waters in the sense that there is only one portal window and there is one crack at this. This is our team. This is what it's going to be. So you have to be super intentional in the month of January through the transition phase of it, which is hard because there are so many moving parts. You got to keep your eyes focused on what should be focused on, and then the month of February, we got to really lock down here and do a really good job making sure our guys are handling what they need to handle from an academic standpoint of things, from a behavioral standpoint of things, and ultimately from what we want to get out of them from a football standpoint.
And speaking of football standpoint, Coach Candle also told media this week that they will be holding a spring game, and that will give him and his staff the chance to further evaluate this 2026 team as they prepare for the fall season. Well, last season, UConn's Anna Connors set the pace, breaking the school record in the 300 meters with a 38.42 time. She then took home some medals in the Big East Championships, earning bronze in the 400-meter outdoor and silver in the same event indoors, also running that event with a personal best of 53.70 seconds. And she's back on the track for her junior season, training to maintain those lightning-fast times and break even more records.
Last year I was running 53s at competition meets, so this year I want to run more consistently lower 54s and then down to 53 again and hopefully 53 flat around there.
Like any track athlete, lowering your time is a standard goal. It's what most runners train for. For long distance runners, the key to improving is consistency and endurance. But what about short distance runners like Connors?
Consistency, in practice, just being focused every day, really thinking about the drills that you're doing, not just doing them, really thinking about how they impact your running and help you think about just the dynamics of your mechanics while you're running. We do a lot of pogos, like jumping, a lot of short stuff. We use run rockets, resistance running, which is a lot different than distance running. We're on the short track a lot. We don't go outside to run. We do short workouts as well on the track, just 400, 500s and stuff like that.
Like Connors said, her training consists of various different exercises, drills, and movements, all centered around consistency. That's how she spends her week's training. But how does Connors spend those few hours before the whistle blows at a track meet? Well, with some good food and archaic tunes.
Every meet I have to eat a bagel, peanut butter, and a banana. Every single meet. And if I don't get that, it's going to be a bad day. Okay, this is going to throw you off, but I like Mr. Brightside. It's an older song, but I like it.
Yeah, I just want to point out that she called Mr. Brightside an old song. It only came out in 2004, so is it 2 decades old? Yes, but when I think of old music, and I think most people in here would agree, I'm thinking Elvis, the Beatles, you know what I mean? Older, last century. Anyway, Connors and the rest of the Huskies track and field team will be in action this weekend with the Sykes and Sawbuck Challenge at Penn State. And we're just getting warmed up on Connecticut Game Week. When we come back, we'll celebrate our best in show. And spoiler alert, there's a new Big East Player of the Week. And no, it's not Sarah Strong this time.
Not Sarah Strong or AZ Fudd this time. And a rivalry renewed, looking back at sights and sounds of the Huskies' dominant performance against the Tennessee Volunteers. Connecticut Game Week rolls on right after this.
Well, welcome back into Connecticut Game Week. Time now for our best in show, and of course, we're starting with women's basketball. UConn absolutely dominating the Big East Awards this season, and Allie Zabel scoring outburst against Xavier last week made sure that trend would continue. She's the Big East Player of the Week after a team record 34 points off the bench against the Musketeers. She also tied another program record with 10 threes in a single game. Now she put a bow on her week with 10 points against Tennessee this past Sunday.
quite the scorching week for Allie Zabel, and both Sarah Strong and AZ Fudd are on the Hall of Fame's mid-season award watch list. Fudd is nominated for the Ann Myers Drysdale Award, given to the nation's top shooting guard. Meanwhile, Sarah Strong is a candidate for the Katrina McClain Award for the nation's top power forward. Strong averages 19.2 points per game, while Fudd contributes 17.5.
And on the men's side, Alex Karaban and Solo Ball have made their respective watch list. Karaban is a finalist for the Karl Malone Award, given to the nation's top power forward, and Solo Ball is nominated for the Jerry West Award as one of the top shooting guards in the country.
Whole lot of representation for UConn there.
Who's shocked?
The 260th edition of Slam magazine is sure to be a collectible for UConn Nation. Sarah Strong graces the cover of the latest edition. She currently leads the team in 4 major categories this season: points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. Her latest accomplishment is one you can keep for yourself.
And the future of UConn women's basketball has earned yet another accolade. Olivia Vukosa is officially a McDonald's All-American. Now, she joins the Huskies next fall from Christ the Kings in Queens, New York. Vukosa is the top-ranked center in her class.
Now, the story of last weekend was a rivalry renewed. UConn and Tennessee has long been the standard in women's college hoops. And it turns out Jonathan isn't too fond of the Volunteers. Here he is chewing a puppet version of the team's mascot, Smokey. Now, the game itself, a tale of two halves. The first half was back and forth, fast-paced action. Both teams traded buckets, and Tennessee overcame a 21-point deficit to go into halftime tied with the Huskies. But the game ended with the largest margin of victory in series history in what became a revenge game for the reigning national champions. After she led the Huskies in scoring with 27 points and nailed 5 3-pointers, AZ Fudd said it's not like the old days when these teams battled in the Final Four. Still, playing Tennessee means something.
I mean, I'd say it still means something. Obviously, it's not the same as it was back then, but I think any chance we get to play a really talented team like this, we come out, it's exciting, there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of energy around it. But I'd say it's not the same as it used to be, but definitely we come out with extra energy and intensity.
96-66, the final score. Fudd also moved into UConn's top 10 for career three-pointers. UConn, meanwhile, leads the all-time series 17-10. And when we come back, we'll introduce you to a Renaissance man of sorts. Adam Giardino is a Husky through and through, and he does a little bit of everything in the broadcast world. That's coming up.
And also ahead, all eyes are on the big game between the Patriots and the Seahawks. And of course, Bad Bunny's going to perform at halftime as well, which begs the question, what's the greatest halftime performance in Super Bowl history? Well, don't worry, Sean and I have thoughts. We'll tell you those later.
Well, he's a Renaissance man of sorts. Adam Giardino is a play-by-play announcer, sideline reporter, and by the end of the year, he'll be a double Husky. I sat down with him to talk about his career, the challenges of the industry, and his work in a business venture that's helped young students pursue careers in sports.
Hey everybody, and welcome inside Mohegan Sun Arena alongside Monica Moore. Adam Giardino with you, the third man.
And I thought I was going to get involved with the TV station, the student newspaper. I called one soccer game, UConn versus Duke. I called my parents on the walk back to my dorm and never changed my mind.
Adam Giardino does a little bit of everything. If you opened his laptop, you'd find hundreds of pages of research on athletes across multiple sports.
Noel Elkington, when did Cornell become the shot put capital of the Northeast?
He's been rinkside at hockey games, on the sidelines for football, and even poolside at swim meets, all within the past year. But his journey in broadcasting began with an unforgettable senior year at UConn.
We did the Fiesta Bowl, UConn, Oklahoma, the night after calling UConn Stanford women's basketball, on which the 90-game win streak was snapped. So slept in an airport, woke up the next day, got to call a BCS football game. Thought that was it. Thought that was the crowning moment of my senior year. And then Kemba Walker happened.
Walker, cardiac Kemba does it again. UConn wins at the buzzer.
By the end of 2011, Giardino had also seen the UConn baseball team play in its first ever Super Regional. Since then, he's called games at schools across the Northeast and spent years in minor league baseball. Now he's not just calling games at his alma mater, he's hitting the books, pursuing a master's degree at UConn and teaching a communications class.
They're going through the same thing that I went through in 2007, even if some of them weren't even alive in 2007 when I first arrived on campus. And I think there's value in that and understanding community and what UConn is. And for me, just absolutely loving the opportunity to answer questions and to help people find a path.
He's also paying it forward in other ways. In 2020, he helped found the Black Play-by-Play Fund, which provides grants and scholarships to young students looking to break into the industry. His business partner, Darius Thigpen, is the organization's director of mentorship.
So getting out there, getting started is really tough. So both Adam and I come from the play-by-play world. So we both were someone who kind of looked back at our own careers as like, yeah, it would have been nice to have some guidance. It would have been great to have someone there.
Now, with the help of a team of board members and other contributors, they've been able to give away thousands. Both Thigpen and Giardino recognize the hustle it takes to make a living calling games and wanted to give people a chance whom they hadn't seen represented as much in broadcast booths.
Giving people a few extra at-bats was always kind of the goal. Really giving them that chance, that runway to build up their careers was really the starting point for us.
There is the question of how Giardino manages his time between working with his organization and calling multiple games a week.
My wife asks the same thing.
But he says it comes with the territory.
In some ways, it's a punchline where it's, hey, you're always calling a game somewhere, but as I told you, it's also a survival mechanism because I need to just make money. But it's something that I love doing.
What a story. Now, still ahead on Connecticut Game Week, the Super Bowl isn't the only big game this weekend. We'll tell you what's in stores on the ice, in the pool, and on the hardwood. That coming up.
And speaking of the Super Bowl, there's been an extra buzz in the air all week here in New England and no shortage of predictions. We ask UConn Nation, who wins the big game? The answers right after this. There are some big games this weekend, and we're not just talking about Super Bowl 60.
Yeah, we're going to get some predictions about the big game in just a little bit, but first, several UConn teams are in action this weekend. Let's take a look at what's in stores. Starting with women's basketball, of course, they return to Hartford on Saturday, hosting Butler. The Huskies routed the Bulldogs last time they met, 94-47 earlier this season. Naturally, Sarah Strong led the way with 15 points and 7 assists in that win. All time, though, UConn has never lost to Butler.
Ever?
Tip-off for that one is at noon at People's Bank Arena Saturday.
Never ever lost to Butler. Wow. The women's hockey team, meanwhile, is back in action with a pair of games against two different opponents at Providence on Friday and then a home showdown with Boston College on Saturday. The Huskies hope to rebound after an overtime loss in New Hampshire. UConn split a weekend series against the Eagles earlier this season. Julia Pellerin and the Huskies, they know what's at stake this weekend.
We know that we only have a handful of games left, so every single one is important to our playoff stretch. Looking ahead to playoffs, we're just trying to be the most prepared we can. So in practice every day, we're fine-tuning those details just to be the best team we can, and just focusing one game at a time. This weekend is up first, and then we'll look to the rest of our year.
That'll be Julia Pellerin against her former team this weekend. The puck drops on Saturday at 3 at the Toscano Family Ice Forum. Tickets are available on the team's website.
Meanwhile, the men's hockey team is back in action after a weekend off. The Huskies captured their second straight CT Ice Tournament championship last time they played, knocking off Quinnipiac. The Huskies are paying a visit to Northeastern. UConn has won 4 straight against the other Huskies. Now, the NCAA tournament time is right around the corner. I know that kind of feels crazy. And the players are emphasizing the importance of every game that they have left on the docket.
I think every game's important in the year, but especially these last ones coming up. I mean, we're on the bubble right now of the tournament, so I think just our strength of schedule coming up is really huge for us. So I think just every game, take it one game at a time, and they're just going to be really important for us.
Our group definitely has a chance to do something special this late in the year, and we're kind of fighting for that first spot right now.
CT Ice 2 weekends ago helped us with getting into that focal point. So just kind of coming down the stretch, getting into that playoff mindset where every game is, you go in and it's win or go home.
Now, the women's swimming and diving team closes out its regular season on Saturday. The Huskies host Providence College in Storrs. 2 weeks ago, UConn swept New Hampshire and Vermont. The Huskies combined for 5 pool records against the Catamounts. UConn followed that up with a win over Seton Hall. The Big East championships are less than 2 weeks away. Hey, Super Bowl 60 is almost here with the Seahawks and Patriots facing each other for the second time in the big game. An instant classic the last time. And predictions for the outcome of this one have been coming in all week.
And some Huskies decided to weigh in on who they think is slated to win Super Bowl 60. Check it out.
Obviously the Patriots. I mean, we all saw what happened last time they played the Seahawks, and being from Massachusetts, I'm always pulling for them.
I got the Seahawks because I'm from Jersey, a New York fan, and I hate the Patriots.
Gotta go Seattle. I mean, I'm home and raised in Seattle. It's my team since I was born, so going for Seattle 100%.
I'm taking the Patriots, and I don't want to see Caden Shane celebrate a Seahawks win.
I gotta say Pats, you know, being in New England here, gotta root for the home team.
I'm from New Hampshire, so I got to go with the New England Patriots.
Drake May, MVP, he got it.
Seahawks by 10,000.
Yeah, I feel like Patriots are probably the popular answer just given where we are located, but everyone watches for the football, but a lot of people watch for the halftime. Obviously, Bad Bunny's performing this year, but Sean, what is your favorite all-time Super Bowl halftime performance?
Before we get into that, I got to know who you got.
I don't have anybody. I just hope it's a good game, like a good scoring game. I want to be entertained.
Just hope everybody has fun.
I don't care if they have fun. I just hope if I enjoy the game.
You know, yeah, I want a high-scoring game as well. I'm going to go out on a limb, pick the Seahawks. I just dodged a tomato there. You know, you didn't see it fly by me. Sure. It was invisible. But as far as a halftime show goes, I think there's only one answer, and for me, it's got to be Michael Jackson.
Okay, no, that's a good answer. My all-time favorite is from, I want to say it's 1999 or 2000. It's Aerosmith with NSYNC, and they brought out Britney Spears, Nelly, and Mary J. Blige. So a little bit of everything for everyone, and Ben Stiller also intros the halftime show. So I just think it's the best one because of the genres you're crossing, the timing of it. I mean, Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears very happening in the early 2000s is what I hear. So that's my pick. Of course, honorable mentions. I think Bruno Mars also killed it when he did as well.
I do remember the Bruno Mars halftime show. I haven't seen it on a lot of the power rankings, but I enjoyed the Black Eyed Peas halftime show growing up. There were, you know, you're a kid, the lights and everything they did. It was cool to see, at least for me.
Well, we'll wait for the power rankings and Super Bowl halftime show after Bad Bunny's this year. But we'll see you next week with more basketball, hockey, and everything else.